Week 2 underway. We head over, west, northwest. I don't know. We head to Atlanta from Daytona. Another plate race, another triple header to break down. It all kicks off here in about an hour and a half.
Maybe.
Maybe. Weather pending. And I'm here to break it all down with the DFS Army King. Taco, what's going on? A successful Daytona 500 weekend. Hope to carry that momentum into this week.
Yes, sir. Got some good momentum coming into here in Atlanta. Excited to see how this track is going, because this is my historically my favorite track. I would say Kansas my favorite now, but growing up, playing NASCAR racing on MS-DOS, Atlanta every single time. Goated track, but New Atlanta has brought in some pretty good racing in the Cup Series. The Truck Series, we go here once a year, unlike the other two series. So it's been good. It's mostly just been dominated. Actually, I don't know. Let's just take a look and dive in here and see what's going on. It's been dominated by Kyle Busch as of late. So he's
and I think the scariest part about this New Atlanta is this track is going to change rapidly. And right now we have the plate style racing that we see at Daytona and Talladega. And honestly, for the last couple of years, at least like you said in the Cup Series, but in a lot of the series, has been the most entertaining of the plate tracks. Yeah. But that's going to change over time. This track will start to wear. It'll be harder to hold it wide open through the corners. And we'll start to see more spread out racing. Will that happen this year? Probably not. We're probably a couple years away. And I think eventually the goal will be to switch away from the super speedway package on Atlanta, just because the track isn't suitable for it anymore. But I think as we go on, we'll start to see car and driver matter much more than it does at certainly Talladega and even Daytona.
Yeah, we may see this track become kind of its own thing. It's already almost kind of there. You can still, glean some things from the super speedways, like an Xfinity RCR is still pretty good here, just like at the super speedways. But it's really, as the years go by, it's going to become less and less like Daytona and Talladega.
Yeah, and I think we saw that last Atlanta race in the Cup Series that Chase Elliott won. Mm-hmm. That was a skill win.
Yeah.
He did a lot of skillful things in that race that you don't necessarily have the opportunity to do at Daytona and Talladega. And I think that kind of racing will only continue. But like I said, we're probably a couple of years away from that being a real concern, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind as you start to build these lineups.
Yep. I'd say the thing that strikes me the most here, of course, we're going to have a few more laps than we had at Daytona. The fast lap distribution is a little bit different, because those guys at the very, very tail end don't really do as well here. There's much less opportunity for them to get a crazy finish like you'd see at Daytona all the time. They really don't get the fast laps that often.
Yeah.
And the guys running up front, sometimes they do just get fast laps when it's like just one small group up at the very, very front. In the back of that pack, we'll sneak some fast laps in there.
Yeah, and the reality of Atlanta is we don't necessarily see the giant pack racing we see at Daytona and Talladega. It tends to be one or two wide for the most part. It's just the runs you get are so significant. You don't need to be in a line of 6 cars to generate a huge run. You can generate a massive run if 2 cars are side by side in front of you. So it's a little different in that way. As we start to break down what the last couple races in the Truck Series at Atlanta have looked like, do you want to start at historical summary or historical?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's do this. So I think the thing that'll jump out for those who watched the shows last week, and Taco, I'll hand it over to you to explain why this is, but we see a much more even distribution of fantasy points by starting 5 positions. Still certainly weighted to the back, but it does seem more viable to play guys starting towards the front.
Yeah, and a lot of guys that are starting towards the back that score really well are your really good cars that start in the rear. I think we have, a couple of those in this race. Chastain comes to mind. But yeah, you'll see even like, the 9th through 12th starting position scores pretty decently, about as good as like starting in the rear. Again, there haven't been that many races here since the repave in 2022. So we've had 4 Truck Series races, and I think 8 in the other 2 series. So, sample size is a little small. I'm sure that Kyle Busch starting ninth and dominating, winning the race kind of boost those numbers there a little bit, but it's kind of a tale of two halves. You've got high floor when you're starting mid pack or farther back. And then up front, you're either going to score like absolute shit or you're going to dominate and score okay.
Yeah, and I think what we'll see at Atlanta too, we definitely see some carnage, but it tends to not be as destructive carnage as we see at Daytona and Talladega, just because the cars are a little more spread out. So while there will be carnage, and especially in the truck series where the runs are going to be so big, I suspect we'll have a lot of cautions. I don't think we tend to see multiple big ones, if any big ones, at Atlanta. There's a lot of like 2 and 3 car spins and stuff like that. The carnage factor that we see at Daytona and Talladega, it probably isn't matched at Atlanta.
Yeah.
As we go over to historical performances, obviously, like you said, we only have 4 races to go on. But if we start, let's just sort by optimal lineup, which driver started in the optimal lineup. You'll see a lot, like you would at other traditional plate tracks, starting in the back half, 25th and back, or even 20th and back is probably fair to say. But you do see in almost every race, and we'll sort by race here too, so we can get a better look at it. Certainly last year at this race, 3 drivers starting in the top 10 to hit the optimal. That wouldn't happen generally on Daytona and Talladega. It's a pretty bespoke Atlanta experience, but you go back even a year further than that, in 2024, only 1 driver starting in the top 10. But for the most part, you're still going to target those big names towards the back half, but you can be a little more aggressive with getting exposure to guys who have dominator and race winning upside starting inside the top 10.
Yeah, and you will see some guys that seem to be better at Atlanta than the other super speedways. It's kind of like in their bag, maybe more up their alley. And there's the separation of the good and even middle tier teams above the lower tier teams. They're just more boxed out from a top 10 here. That's why we don't see the averages being like that much better for the guys in the rear like we do in Daytona.
Yeah. And if we sort by, let's go to lead laps, you'll see we do tend to get 1 dominator here. A lot of the times it's been Kyle Busch. John Hunter Nemechek also had a very good run in 23. Stuart Friesen has been good here a couple times. But we do see more consistent dominators. And like you said, we do see fast laps tend to be distributed to the guys with better gear rather than guys at the back. Tanner Gray, Chandler Smith, Kraus, Wood, Rhodes, maybe not necessarily names you recognize as dominators, but certainly guys in better trucks that will be starting at the back of this pack.
Yeah, they're almost exclusively guys from, top tier teams.
Yep.
Speed wise.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to look at as we go over here, average by season average driver rating. It's hard to say, but it's essentially based on your season long average. How many points do you usually score at Atlanta? We do see this distributed more to the top than we do at Daytona. And
it's the opposite in Daytona. That's the one that looks the most different from Daytona and Talladega, because you will see those guys that are historically, shit boxes score really well, really consistently just by not being up there in the pack and surviving the wrecks. There's less to survive here.
Yeah, absolutely. And for that reason, you can be more aggressive with guys starting towards the front. And you don't really need to worry about salary, but it will be in the back of your mind because there is some high salary plays that are pretty good here.
Yeah, we got a discount. It kind of makes sense. We get a discount on Kyle Busch, but I think the 2 guys up front, especially like Corey Heim, are going to be very chalky. Salary is probably going to come into play in this slate for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And last week we talked a lot about getting to that 50 score point mark. Would you say that's about what you're aiming for at Atlanta, or does it even lower a little bit? Looks like there's been some 45s that have snuck here over the course of the last couple.
Yeah, and it's going to be pretty tight because, the guys from the very rear are scoring a little bit less overall. And with the guys starting up front, they would, they're scoring a little bit more than they would at Daytona. So it's a little more evened out.
So overall. You're looking, every driver you put into your lineup, you're looking to score at least 45. And if we do that, I actually can't sort here, but you can see the distribution here starts to really start to hit past 15th, when maybe before in Daytona and Talladega, we talk about 25 being the cutoff. I think 15th is probably closer to the cutoff here.
Yep.
Cool. With that all in mind, and with the no jibber jabber rule that was put on us in the Discord, I guess we better get into it. Starting up front, Jake Garcia, Ben Rhodes, we can probably bundle together. As much as we just talk about drivers starting towards the front being more viable this week, I probably don't have much interest in either of those guys.
Yeah, there's a looming force behind these Fords.
Which would be Kyle Busch, who starts third, who has dominated this race 2 years in a row. Well, I say dominated. He definitely had more challengers last year than he did in 24, but he still got the win and led significant laps. I said before we started the show, I'm always surprised that Kyle Busch uses one of his starts because they don't get many. I think it's more now. I think it's 8. It used to be 5. But you don't get unlimited starts in the Truck Series, and it was always surprising to see Kyle Busch waste one of them on a track like Atlanta, where there is a bit of that lottery element. That has proven to be not a factor because he's won both of them fairly easily over the course of the last couple years. Kyle Busch, it doesn't feel nice to play him starting at third, but past performance in this case is a predictor of future performance, and I think Kyle Busch is probably going to be one of the more popular plays on this slate.
And even if you go back past the repave, we're looking at like 8 Kyle Busch wins at Atlanta. He just loves.
Yeah, I mean, we can't even look at those as data points, but they're data points nonetheless. Kyle Busch has been very dominant in Atlanta for a very, very long time.
It's like one of those old golfers you see that just show up to that one course that they've always crushed at since they were in their 20s.
Yeah,
as like 50-year-olds, and they're still doing all right.
And I think the thing, if you're looking for reasons to be optimistic about Kyle Busch, Spire Motorsports for the last 2 years, especially in the Truck Series, hasn't been the best of gear. Last week at Daytona, we saw Hocevar and McDowell in Spire trucks easily control the race at Daytona. They didn't end up getting the win. Things happened. But these Spire trucks seem to have taken a step forward based on, I mean, as much as you can glean from that one race.
Yeah, and like you said, we are going to get some guys starting up front, finishing in the optimal lineups here. And Kyle Busch, there just aren't very many other options that look good. Kyle Busch seems to clearly be the pick to dominate. I think it's going to get him pretty chalky. And unlike other places where we'd see his price come in at like 13, 14, 15,000, 10-7, that is perfectly fine. Yeah. Very easy to afford him. I think his ownership will probably not have much to do with his salary, more of like, what percentage of people are just willing to chase these wins. He's going for 3 in a row here.
And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. not including, you look at the guys starting in this range, you got to imagine guys like Garcia, Rhodes, Ankrum are more than comfortable letting Kyle Busch kind of lead the dance for the first couple stages. So it would be very surprising to see Kyle Busch anywhere but leading laps at the start of this race.
Yeah, I've heard from guys like Brendan Queen, Cole Butcher just say like, hey man, if Kyle Busch is coming down here, we would love to just ride behind him and just see what he does and just learn.
Yeah.
It's always a factor with Kyle Busch in the Truck Series.
Now, if Kyle Busch is going to be 44% owned, how are you attacking that on like a mini-max kind of run? Are you trying to match? Are you being overweight? What's your angle? With Kyle Busch?
he's just Austin Hill in the slate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll probably shoot to be a bit under 30s and then just kind of hope something happens because it's a super speedway. Ultimately, there's going to be some regression. Like it's not like if this is a short track or something, I think it'd be way more likely to just pile on to him. Like, okay, he's 2 wins in a row, he's just going to win again. It's certainly not as guaranteed a track like this. All sorts of different shit can happen. The Truck Series still has some crazy drivers in it,
Yeah, I think that's about right. I'd probably play him in the high 30s. Just try to match the field or be a little bit underweight. I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable playing a guy like this starting third at anywhere near close to 50%, which is what you need to play to get any leverage on him probably. So
you don't even need, I don't even know if you need that much leverage one way or the other with Kyle Busch because there's not really that strong of a take. There's not, I mean, he should be just about market-wise like where he should be. We kind of know what to expect from him here. And again, it's just the lack of other plays in this range that you can really pivot to is the issue.
Yeah. And I guess if we're looking at this objectively without all the context around drivers being comfortable with him leading and the very likely dominator upside, 44-45% for any driver starting third at a plate style race is too much. So
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to be on overweight on Kyle Busch, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily a bad play.
So, I mean, what would the angle be for fading him? Just thinking about it, would you like pick some Thor Sport? There are 4 Thor Sport guys starting up front. Maybe they get together early. Even then, it's hard to see them, even as like a whole team, kind of overpowering Kyle Busch. You know,
Yeah,
something would have to happen to Kyle Busch, which things tend to
exactly what I
happen
was
to
about to
people here.
say. I feel like for Kyle Busch to not be leading this race early, something has to happen to him early.
Mm-hmm.
And even still, like, I get the feeling he's going to lead a lot of the first stage, even if he has some sort of incident.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not catastrophic, I still feel like he's led a bunch of laps and will probably make his way back up to the top 10. So,
Yeah.
it just, there's not a lot of, I mean, Ben Rhodes can certainly lead with Kyle behind him. I think Stenhouse can probably lead. Guys like Majeski, John Hunter gets up there quick, but it kind of feels like the most likely script is Kyle Busch gets up there early and just leads.
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel about Stenhouse and Nice equipment?
Yeah, we can probably glance over Tyler Ankrum in the same way we did Garcia and Rhodes. Just a fine sprinkle play. Doesn't jump off the page, but has been pretty good at speedways.
He has led them here, but I mean,
yeah, definitely has the best track record of these full-time guys starting up towards the front. Ankrum has been top 10 for a lot of these super speedways, just starting 4th. Not a ton of upside, especially with Kyle Busch. I'd be surprised to see Ankrum lead early over Kyle Busch without some sort of incident. Stenhouse is the one that's interesting to me because we know Stenhouse is so good at plate racing. We know this is the A truck for Nice Motorsports, and there's a reason why Stenhouse is driving these races. The concern being he starts 5th and rides behind Kyle Busch all day. It's going to be very hard for him to hit the optimal.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at Caden Honeycutt's results the last couple of years to kind of see what to expect out of this truck. Finishing 6th both years, no lead laps. Obviously, Stenhouse, a much better super speedway driver than Caden Honeycutt, who's still in the beginning part of his career. But yeah, Kyle Busch is quite the roadblock to get around here.
Yeah, and that kind of, if Stenhouse is worth 4 or 5 positions over Caden Honeycutt, that's still not going to do it. He probably needs to lead laps. If he finishes 2nd or 3rd, I mean, 2nd might get him there. 3rd probably doesn't at this price point. So you're really betting on him finishing top 2 if you're going to play Stenhouse.
Yeah. And I mean, how often do these Cup guys that aren't Kyle Busch to go down the Truck Series really pop off like that? A lot of the time they're just getting reps in.
Yeah. I do think Stenhouse is a fine play. We saw him really good at Daytona. He was in position to win that race, but he wasn't dominant. And for a lot of the time in that race, he was running towards the back. I think his average running position was like 17th. So,
yep.
Cole Butcher will start 6th. I would love to say very positive, glowing things about my fellow Canadian Cole Butcher, but he was fine at Daytona. He was very quiet, very conservative in his approach, stayed out of trouble. Hocevar turned himself across his nose at one point, but that wasn't Cole's fault. But here at Atlanta, I think this will be a big learning curve for Cole Butcher, who had his first plate race, first big track. I don't even think he's run on a 1.5 mile track before, let alone a drafting style track other than Daytona last week. Probably don't need to have much Cole Butcher in your lineup.
Yeah, we should probably float past a lot of these guys because this isn't really the range.
Yeah, I think the only one we're talking about here is probably Majeski. You could get some exposure to Majeski. He's been really good at plate races as of late. Top 10s almost always, and never really has a catastrophic run. He had a 21st at Talladega last year, but other than that, it's been pretty consistent, well inside the top 15. So I don't mind getting some exposure, taking some of your Kyle Busch exposure and sprinkling onto Majeski.
Yeah, for sure. Majeski easily the second best option out of the top 10. And you can get multiple guys in the top 10. So you can play like a Busch Majeski play stiff lineup and it looks pretty solid.
Yeah, we can probably skip over Adam Andretti, who's making his NASCAR debut, I believe, here, let alone his plate racing debut in a good truck. But great job on the qualifying. Qualified 8th, but not much interest in Adam Andretti. And the same can be said probably for Andres Perez de Lara, who I don't think has ever run top 10 at a plate track, so would need a bit of an outlier performance.
Yeah, no, we have to get into the other Tricon cars here. when
Yeah,
it starts looking pretty decent in this little
starting
range
with
here.
Gio Ruggiero, who starts 10th. He's finished top 3 at most 3 of 4 of his place starts. His 11th place run came in Atlanta last year, but he's been really dominant. He was in position to win Daytona truck race, looked good in the Xfinity race before he found trouble, won the ARCA race. Gio is just a really great, for whatever reason, a really great plate driver, and is, as we talked about these guys towards the front being more viable. I think Gio Ruggiero is your kind of first super viable play.
Yeah, and then it kind of starts a range of like Tricon guys you can expect to work together here. Heim should shoot up through the field. Like, it's a pretty strong team. It's a pretty good car, and he's just good at super speedways. I think we gotta start to just give it to him at this point. He's a good super speedway driver.
Yeah, certainly if he runs well today at the one track that he hasn't run particularly well at, you certainly need to circle Gio as a elite plate racer. He's probably 16% would be the highest I expect to see him owned. That's probably not, I wouldn't go much higher than that for a guy like Gio, but I think you could play him at 15, 16% and hope the field goes under that and get your leverage that way. But 15 to 16% ownership on like a mini max run feels right for him.
Yeah, I don't think the field will. I think the word's kind of out that he's pretty good at these. Pretty good at these.
Absolutely. Caden Honeycutt in a similar position hasn't shown the upside that Gio has on plate tracks, but obviously taking over the best truck in the field, or at least the truck that Corey Heim made the best. He's been good on plate races, ran top 10 at Daytona last week, top 6 at his last 2 starts at Atlanta, and now he gets a truck that is much better than what he was in before. Do you have any interest in getting some exposure here to Caden Honeycutt?
Yeah, he seems perfectly fine to me. I mean, the Corey Heim car. What can you say here? It's fine.
Yeah, and Caden Honeycutt is in this car for a reason. I think the consensus was that he was certainly ready for an opportunity to go and compete. He ran in the 45 last year for a little bit, and then the 62, had really good runs in all of them. So I think we're going to play a lot of Caden Honeycutt down the road as we get to some other track types. But I still think I don't mind at least matching the field, if not being a little overweight on Caden Honeycutt here.
Yeah, I mean, him and Gio have the exact same fantasy point projections, which makes a lot of sense. They're kind of just the same play here, same team, same starting spot, pretty much, about the same price, about the same expectations, because I think Honeycutt, the equipment's a little better. Gio has that super speedway skill that he's been showing off, so they're pretty much the same play for me.
Outside of Caden Honeycutt, about $1,000 up the salary board, you'll find John Hunter Nemechek. He starts 12th. Ran really well at Atlanta last year. Was it last year? Or it was a few years ago. I think he ran Atlanta. Ran really, really well. I don't mind getting some exposure here to John Hunter. I think he is he's a good plate racer. We saw it at Daytona last week. I guess the question is just how much of that 2023 performance has carried over to 2025, and how much more capable is this 62 truck, the second truck for Stuart Friesen Racing, or what is Friesen Motorsport, whatever Stuart Friesen's called, Hallmark. You know what I'm trying to say.
Friesen. Yeah, Hallmark, so the second HFR car. How does that compare to the Nemco rides?
Yeah, that's the question. And those Nemco rides towards the end of John Hunter's stint in trucks certainly had a lot of juice. I don't mind. I think John Hunter's a really good plate racer. I think this equipment is fine. I don't mind getting a little leverage on John Hunter here.
Yeah, he's fine. He's perfectly acceptable in this range. He's good. He was always really good in the truck series, like really, really good. He doesn't need to be really, really, really good here. He can be just and it works out.
Yeah. And this is the range, as you talk about, you can start to get more aggressive with your ownership targets versus the guys that started in this range at Daytona. Daniel Hemrick had a miserable Daytona. He was the first chalk bomb of the year, I believe. He's not going to be as chalky this week, starting 13th. A guy that always seems like he's got upside, but it just never seems to pay off with Daniel Hemrick, and I think the field's going to be a little scared off him in this spot.
Yeah, he's pretty much a fade for me. He's just not aggressive, really, at all, like anywhere. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, and despite the lack of aggression, he seems to find a lot of trouble one way or the other, whether that's by mechanical failure, no fault of his own, or just being involved in other people's mess. But yeah, it feels a little scary to play Daniel Hemrick too much here.
Yeah, and I mean Christian Eckes just looked way better in this car than Hemrick overall. Is
Yeah,
the read I'm getting. Like Hemrick just seems like such a background character.
yeah. To his outside will be Grant Infinger starting ninth, or excuse me, in the number 9, starting 14th. A fine plate racer. He's got some wins at Talladega before. Atlanta has just been okay for him. Has one top 10 finish that came last year. A fine sprinkle play, but not a guy I'm looking to get major leverage on.
Yeah, he's led some laps here before, and you can never really count out the kid named Enfinger. It's just in this range, they're just better options, I think.
And one of those better options,
Mm-hmm.
my pick to win the race.
Oh,
I think people forget, like, Christian Eckes 2 years ago was the biggest full-time adversary that Corey Heim ever had.
oh yeah.
It was Eckes versus Heim most weeks. And then last year, Heim stayed in the Truck Series and dominated, never really had any real competition. Eckes took on a colleague car in the Xfinity Series and certainly outdrove the equipment, but just didn't have the equipment to be consistently competitive. Now he comes back in the exact same gear that he had in that 2024 season where he was competing with Corey Heim week in and week out. I think Eckes is the favorite to win the championship, and I think he's the best play for me from a betting perspective and to a lesser extent a DFS perspective, but still a very good play. He starts 15th. He was amazing at Daytona last week, finished third, was in position to win that race, has won this race at Atlanta before. A lot to like about Christian Eckes here.
Yeah, and you see the ownership percentage kind of bumped up here compared to some of the other guys in this range, but that's kind of like where he should be projection. May not be where he ends up. That is a chance for the field to kind of forget about him as they seek out greener pastures down low. That's kind of the mistake that the field tends to make at Atlanta in the lower series, is they really like to stack the guys from the back like overly and kind of ignore these really good plays in the mid range, because like you saw in the historical summary, some of these like lower mid-range guys are scoring about as good as the guys in the very rear. And Eckes clearly has upside. He's dominated in this equipment and won back in 2023. He's certainly super capable.
Yeah, like I said, I think people forget how good Eckes was, especially on short tracks. Was amazing, and often the favorite over Corey Heim at a lot of those tracks. I think we'll see a return to form here for Christian Eckes. I think he's going to be very, very dominant. I think he's the most likely guy to have a Corey Heim type season, along with Lane Riggs. But yeah, I'm very bullish on Eckes here. And Friesen's another guy I don't mind getting some leverage on for whatever reason. Stuart Friesen is not a great plate racer by any stretch, but Atlanta has seemed to be a reprieve for him. He ran second here, almost won, lost by a couple inches, and then a couple years ago in the first Atlanta race, he dominated that race and led a bunch of laps. So Friesen starting 16th, not the most comfortable starting position, but certainly I won't be shy to get exposure to Stuart Friesen.
Yeah, that second place run of him was really a 1.2.
It was very close.
We saw what we needed to see out of Friesen last week. Last week it was the big, all right, let's wait and see how he recovers from his brutal injury. And he appears to be just fine.
Yeah, it didn't seem to be an issue at all.
And he's working with a pretty good teammate right around him in John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah. Yeah, I would not be surprised to see Stuart Friesen run towards the front here again. Like I said, not a great plate racer by any stretch, but he seems to have Atlanta figured out. And Friesen just has these tracks that he's randomly really good at. Like Texas comes to mind, Atlanta comes to mind. There's just a couple
intermediate tracks. Really, 1.5 miles is where it's his bread and butter.
Which is strange because he's a short track. I mean, he's a dirt track guy, but a short track guy by trade. But yeah, I don't mind if he's going to be 10% owned. I will probably have pretty significant leverage on him.
Yeah, that's a good spot to attack. And the field does not like taking Friesen. We'll have to see how that adjusts after, Daytona signs of life here. He's not really known as a great super speedway driver, but he's an infinitely better super speedway driver than Tanner Gray, who just sucks at these.
Yeah, man, it's weird because Tanner Gray runs up front at the start of races.
Mm-hmm.
He's always in the top 10 at the start of these races. He won't be
great.
He probably won't be this week, but yeah, he just has trouble finishing. He does have one second place finish at Daytona, but outside that, it's been all outside of the top 10 for Tanner Gray. You're really betting on an outlier performance. Don't mind getting a little leverage on him just because I think people are going to be too shy to attack guys in this range. So if he's only going to be 7% owned, I'll probably have him at 10 to 12, but not a guy I'm looking to target in many of my lineups.
Yeah, I can't really co-sign off Tanner Gray. He's just shown no like real upside at all. It's just it doesn't seem like he has it in him at super speedways. Just kind of waiting for those intermediate tracks where he can really dominate.
Yeah,
he saw towards the end of last season.
Absolutely. Carson Hocevar will be on his passenger door to start the race. He starts 18th. Hocevar was the show last week.
Yeah.
He wrecked probably 8 times in total over the course of the 3 races. Was probably the best truck at Daytona. Was the most impressive. Once he fell back, like we predicted, he just tends to crash out and wrecks himself over and over again. If he can keep his cool, keep his head here, he's certainly live to win this race.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's the big question is, can he run 135 laps without feeling like he has to overdrive and then starting to spin over and over and over again?
Yeah, and he's got quite a solid teammate to be running this race with. And we have seen the Spire guys kind of run 1 and 2 up there. Again, if you're just looking at the game logs here, you're like, wow, why would anyone play Hocevar? He fucking sucks. But if you know ball, you know that Hocevar, I mean, just from the races we have of him, look at the early running position, 5.7, and then lays 35. Like, that's been Hocevar.
Yeah.
I cannot talk right now, sorry. Person calling me. But yeah, Hocevar, he's obviously like a pure GPP play. He has insane upside, incredible upside starting 18th. It's just he has a glass floor underneath him. We've seen that glass floor being shattered many a times.
Yeah, more often than not, really. And last week was a prime example of it. If you're gonna be underweight on Carson Hocevar, it's gonna be a little unnerving because I'm pretty sure by about lap 10, he will be in the top 5. It's just a matter of if he can stay there for 135 laps. And in 3 races last week, he was not able to do that. So I don't know. It just kind of feels like a match the field situation with Hocevar. Like you said, he has it's really boom or bust, but he certainly has race winning upside.
Yeah.
And like you said, has a great teammate. If him and Kyle Busch kind of get 1-2, it'll look very similar to what him and McDowell did at the start of the Daytona race last week.
Yeah, I mean, betting on Hocevar keeping it cool is always a tough ask, but it's just the upside is so insane. Like, he's the definition of a GPP play.
And we saw it too. Like, it takes a couple spins for Hocevar to learn his lesson, because he spun last week and then went right back to the front and then turned himself across somebody's nose and then got a lap down and was running towards the front again, a lap down when he wrecked again. So, he's got a couple bullets in the chamber as long as he doesn't wreck his gear, but it's just that boomer bust kind of mentality with Hocevar.
Yeah, and it's just him, this being an exhibition race for him, most of the time he is going to crash out here. You're just playing him, just splashing him around, hoping he has that insane high upside. Yeah. It's going to really come down to his ownership, which is that's a 20% with him starting back in 18th. It's such a low confidence projection because it could be, there's a wide spread of what it could be, because I feel like people know, like we saw Hocevar up front leading laps. You know his upside. It's just the results have been obviously horrible.
Yeah. Lane Riggs will start 19th, the row behind Carson Hocevar in a very similar situation. Riggs obviously has race winning upside. He has dominator upside. He's just not been good. And he was a popular play last week at Daytona, and he wasn't a factor in that race at all. Ended up finishing 20th, but I don't think he even ran. His average running position probably was outside of the top 20. He does have a 5th place at Talladega last year, but outside that, it's been all outside of the top 10. It's just, I don't know what it is with Riggs and plate race, but it's a similar situation. He's very good at the start of these races, but always seems to find some sort of issue.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards, like we've seen enough data. Riggs just might not be very good at this sort of thing. He tends to be better at these smaller tracks for sure.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if it's his speed.
Yeah, and I mean, his teammate won at Daytona last weekend, so the trucks have speed, so the delta has to be between the seat and the steering wheel. But we do know that he does have the ability to run towards the front. It just seems to be he always finds trouble. The key to the slate will start next to him in 20th. That'll be Corey Heim making his return to the Truck Series after a one-race absence. He's going to be very highly owned. He's
As he
running
should be.
for sure. He's running the one truck for Tricon Racing, a different crew chief than he normally has, but still obviously very good equipment. It's been a lot of boom and a little bit of bust at plate races for Corey Heim. It's either top 5 or crashing out. I think my stand on Corey Heim here is I think the name Corey Heim in the Truck Series just inspires too much confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be upwards of 55% owned. I just don't see a way to get leverage on Corey Heim. And it's when at Atlanta, a track where he won his first race here at Atlanta back in 2022. But the carnage, there's only so much Heim can do as good as he is in trucks. The carnage of this race, the plate racing nature of this race limits his upside in that way. Corey Heim's obviously the best play on the slate from a DFS kind of perspective, but I find myself wanting to be underweight.
Yeah, the difference between this race and all of his previous races where we've seen him run top 5, lead laps, not that many laps actually, just lead some laps, doing his thing, being up there. The biggest difference is this is an exhibition race for him. He has no, like a second or third, which is great. What we're seeing in the game logs here, he doesn't need to get a second or third. He can shoot for the win. He can be way more aggressive now. So I think he's got a lot more floor than before. We've seen him be only 2 for 3 at this track. So yeah, I just think his carnage rate will be a little bit higher, but obviously he's going to project the best as he should. Starting back in 20th, like it's kind of a picture perfect spot for him. I just think with it being an exhibition race for him, not that he's like a super aggressive driver or anything. Just with that, the different crew chief, I wouldn't expect him to just continue doing what he had been doing last year and the year before. I would expect a little bit lower upside in Corey Heim than we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a more competitive field, I would say, with Stenhouse and Hocevar and Kyle Busch, which limits his dominator upside. Mm-hmm. And it's Atlanta, it only takes one wreck. And if you're going to play a guy now, listen, if this was Las Vegas and we had Corey Heim at 10,000 salary starting 20th, 75-80% ownership.
Yeah,
play him all day. But just the nature of Atlanta, I don't mind kind of being a little bit underweight. And that's just the way you have to play these plate races. Like we talk about Kyle Busch, we want to be a little underweight on him. Corey Heim, you want to be a little weight on him. It's just you got to be a little contrarian if you want to take down one of these GPPs because the carnage can catch you at Atlanta. But obviously Corey Heim's going to be probably the most popular play on the slate and for pretty good reason.
Yeah, and we have seen Kyle Busch in these races since he's been going down to the Truck Series racing some Atlanta. We've seen him limit his upside even during his insane season. So yeah, there's just a little bit less floor, a little bit less upside than we're used to seeing from Mr. Corey Heim, but he will be the chalk. So fading the chalk, never a bad idea at a super speedway ever.
Next row, Chris Wright, who I banged the drum for last week and was humbled quickly as he wrecked again, finished 25th.
I'm going to be real with you, bro. He ass.
Yeah, listen.
He's straight ass. He buys seats and he crashes, bro. He's so ass.
This is good gear, and that's what gets me excited is this MHR equipment is good. It's some of the best
Jack
in
Wood,
the series.
right?
Yeah, I mean, Jack Wood had good runs in this gear. Mm-hmm. Chris Wright, though, and I was excited to play him last week when he was a great PD spot, but he just wrecks a lot of race cars. And Atlanta's, I think, a more challenging task than Daytona. So if you can't get through Daytona, then I don't know how optimistic you can be starting 21st at Atlanta.
Yeah, he's been under a lot of scrutiny for just not only, and getting into wrecks is one thing. He just makes really, really stupid decisions sometimes.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll probably play him at 10%, which will probably end up getting me leverage anyway, but I'm not as bullish on him as I was last week for sure. We're getting into a range of really nice plays here, so we'll mow through them. Chandler Smith won at Daytona. Wasn't necessarily the most dominant truck there. Kind of just showed up at the end. I would say he ran outside of the top 10 for most of the day, and just the race fell in his lap. But he's been really good at plate races and has never finished outside of the top 5 at Atlanta. This seems like a pretty good spot.
Yeah, this is a good play. He's in front row, was great. He looked pretty awesome in both races last week. He even showed a little bit of upside in the Cup Series race. He's
Yeah.
just been good at these super speedways.
Yeah, and if you compare him to his teammate Lane Riggs, a couple rows ahead, maybe doesn't have the in general. I'm not necessarily speaking about Atlanta. In general, doesn't have the upside that Lane Riggs tends to have, but just seems to finish. Seems like a safer, higher floor play than Lane Riggs week to week, and I think that's the situation here too. You look at his super speedway runs; they've all been flirting with the top 5, save for Talladega last year. So he kind of needs an outlier type of run to not hit the optimal. So a really good spot for Chandler Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I would just flip flop the ownerships of him and Heim personally if it's me running it. But yeah,
That feels
Chandler
really
Smith is the way to go, I think. I
Yeah.
think he's got more upside straight up than Corey Heim.
Yeah, and easier to get leverage on.
Mhm.
It just seems exactly correct. Dawson Sutton will start 23rd. Had a good run at Talladega last year. Outside of that, it's just kind of been running 17th to 23rd. That won't be enough to get him anywhere here. Carnage would help him, but yeah, just kind of a nondescript play here. Just playing for the potential place differential upside, but there's nothing that jumps off the page for me here.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, Boyd's the first of many drivers we're about to start talking here, like the 5K range, where bro finishes 20th all the time. It's just, we don't see the top 10, top 15 upside from these back end drivers here at Atlanta. They're really boxed out, and the reps aren't as big.
It's kind of crazy. You look at his last super speedways, all around 20th. You look at his Atlanta track history, either 19th, 20th, 21st, or 22nd. That just seems to be where he'll run. So you can get a little exposure to him, hoping for a really carnage type of race. But seems like you've got him pegged here for a 20th place finish. That seems about where he'll finish.
He would need like a top 10 to be optimal is the thing, and I just don't really see that out of Boyd. So I'm a big Boyd guy, just at the other 2 super speedways, not at this one. I think there's just not enough ceiling here.
Yeah, now we need to understand what to do with these darn Dodges.
Oh my god!
It's just, and listen, I'm there. I know there's a no jibber jabber rule, but I can jibber jabber a little bit about the schedule that we have to endure in all 3 series is just ludicrous for trying to understand who the main players are going to be this year. We won't understand if Ram's good until like the middle of March when we go to Las Vegas. We've got Atlanta. We're going to Coda next week. Then we go to Phoenix. Phoenix is kind of a weird track. Terrible scheduling by NASCAR, but I won't complain. We just don't know what these Ram trucks are capable of, and I don't think we learned anything at Daytona.
The budget's there. It's just Daytona is just, we had Brendan Queen survive. Other than that, like it's just hard to tell. It's freaking Daytona.
Yeah, I don't think we learned anything. We didn't see any of these trucks go and lead significant laps. We did see them get a couple fast laps, but I think that's more of a fact that they were towards the back all day. Justin Haley's probably the most exciting of the Ram plays. He's a really good plate driver, ran up front at Daytona at times, didn't end up finishing that well, but we know what Haley is capable of at plate races. And if these Rams are even slightly powerful and slightly competitive, and I don't think NASCAR would allow them to enter the series without giving them the formula to be competitive early. It just was a bad look to see a manufacturer come into the sport and be an afterthought immediately. I got to imagine Justin Haley's a pretty good play here.
Yeah, he's certainly the best of this group. And it's just like last week, we're going to have a ton of ownership on these Rams just because they obviously can't qualify. They have no real speed out by themselves. So, I mean, in the pack, it's a different story. Haley, even Ty Dillon, they are decent super speedway racing. Yeah. It's just, we don't see Haley in the truck series all that often.
Well, full time now.
We're about to, yeah. So I guess we're going to see what bro is made of. So he's also kind of a wait and see project himself. We know a bit more about guys like Daniel Dye. Ty Dillon usually comes here in much worse equipment. So he's in that Carousel 25 car or 25 truck.
Interesting to note, I just noticed here, starting 24th, Spencer Boyd, crew chief by Mike Hillman. Right behind him, Justin Haley, crew chief by Mike Hillman Jr.
Hey, how about
that? Ty Dillon will start 26th. Ty Dillon is a fine plate racer. I don't think he's shown the capability that maybe Justin Haley has, who's in a very similar position, obviously. But still, I don't mind. It's going to, leverage maybe a little bit on Ty Dillon, but Ty Dillon's capable. He's going to command some respect in the field. If these trucks have any juice, he'll be able to maximize it. Like I said, probably not as good of a play as Justin Haley, but still a fine play.
Yeah, the thing with Ty Dillon is we have a lot of data on this guy right now, and it's pretty clear that he is a lot better at Daytona than at Talladega or Atlanta. That is something that we know about him. Again, this truck is going to be the weird one all season. We're gonna not even know who's driving in this thing until like the week of every single week, which is yay, love that. Yeah, Ty Dillon again. Remember with his runs here, like he's coming here and he's done some truck races like in some dog shit equipment, but usually it's at the super speedways. So again, exhibition race for him. So that means the floor is not really going to be there. So probably still a cash play just because of how the slate is and how the guys starting the very rear aren't like super reliable. So at least Ty Dillon, he's got more super speedway racing skill than most of this field.
Yeah. And I think that's what's exciting is everybody behind him almost has no experience compared to Ty Dillon. So yeah, I like both these plays. I think Justin Haley and Ty Dillon are both super, super playable. And Ty Dillon, I'd probably prefer even a little just more from a game perspective, but
yeah, ownership.
Yeah. I think it's Tyler Reif I've said Reif in the past, but I believe the correct pronunciation is Tyler Reif. Has made his bones in the ARCA West series for a lot of years. Very competitive in that series, won some races. He takes over the 42 Nice truck. Just barely turned 18, I think. So obviously his first plate race.
We can gamble on him.
Yeah, that's exactly all it is. We don't know what to make of Tyler Reif. Like I said, I believe he just turned 18. So this will be his first plate race. A lot of learning to do. Just a carnage play for me.
And this isn't, compared to the other two tracks, this is not really where you want to go with the carnage plays. So he's going to be low owned. It's going to be for a reason.
Yeah. He'll be on the same row as Brendan Queen, who starts 7th. But I mean, we can almost talk about these guys together.
Yeah, they're a monolith for sure.
All these Rams starting 28th, 29th, 30th. Just not a lot of experience. Daniel Dye, the most experienced in this range. Brendan Queen, 1 career or 2 career plate starts, a couple more in the ARCA series, and then Mini Tyrell just has his 19th place run at Daytona. They're just 5.
I wouldn't call that a 19th place run though. He actually didn't look like super confident through most of the race. He just kind of survived at the end and got a 19th. So he was definitely running more like low 20s.
Yeah, average running position. Can I see it here? Yeah, average running position was 26.7. So
yeah, 30th early in the race too. It's just he was just there chilling.
Yeah. So these are just fine plays. I think Brendan Queen's probably a better play than Mini Tyrell. I think Daniel Dye is probably the best play of all of them. He's shown legitimate top 10 upside in different gear, obviously.
He's got way more reps.
And that's exactly it. Way more experience. So you can play any of these guys. If you're looking to get leverage on any of them, I would say do it with Daniel Dye. It's going to be the hardest to do it with Daniel Dye, but I don't know. Just so much inexperience in this range. And like I said, I think Atlanta is a little more difficult than Daytona. So Mini Tyrell struggled at Daytona. Atlanta probably won't give him much reprieve. Brendan Queen has some reps in the ARCA series, can definitely get some exposure to him. He ran 7th at Daytona, but he was towards the top 15 all day. So
yeah, he actually looked good. Like he looked significantly better than Mini, which makes a lot of sense. I think he's a lot better of a driver overall, and that'll be consistent throughout the course of the year.
Yeah. And so I don't know how I would attack this range. It just kind of feels like I'll be a little overweight on Dye, maybe match on Queen, and then underweight on Mini.
Yep. That sounds about right.
And then
I don't know. I think Dye is like someone that you can just use as an anchor play.
Yeah, he's definitely got the most reps. You see it here. He definitely has the ability to run top 10 at these type of races. Ran top 10 here in 2024 and has a full season in trucks and a full season in Xfinity, I believe. So a lot of experience with Daniel Dye. It's just hard to know what to make of these Ram trucks.
He's just the one starting farthest back. Like I think I like him better than Haley even in this whole range, just because he's like the best, like deepest place differential play before you get to this whole monolith range of guys that would look a lot better if they were at Daytona or Talladega for
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, we can talk about these all in the group because they project almost identical across the board.
Yeah.
All these Rayom trucks are about the same play. Josh Rayom, probably the best of them based on consistency, but Frankie Muniz has been good. Clayton Green, very green to plate racing.
Yeah. And
uh,
I mean, Rayum is going to drive it the safest, since he owns the trucks. But
yeah,
we've actually seen Muniz get some pretty decent finishes at super speedways. He can actually hold it straight.
yeah, absolutely. It's just, I think the upside for these trucks at Atlanta specifically compared to Daytona and Talladega is capped. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. They're definitely down on power. Like we talked about last week, the rumor is that these are old front row motorsports cars.
Mm-hmm. And we saw top 20s out of them at Daytona just surviving. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard to glean a whole lot from those.
it's exactly right, and we probably won't get more information on that until the middle of March. Thanks for the scheduling, NASCAR. But
Yeah.
these are all just kind of fine plays. And then Tyler Tomasi was probably somebody I won't have much interest in. Car DNQ'd for Daytona, and this MBM machine has always been kind of suspect. And then Justin Carroll and Caleb Costner, just pure carnage plays for me. Don't
And
jump
then,
off the page.
yeah, the worst part about this whole group compared to Daytona and Talladega, of course, they're not going to have the giant wrecks, which is usually where they would get the 40, 50 point upside from just surviving those. It's also the fact that, like, at those tracks, you can get like 2, 3, 4 fast laps, and those are like, an extra like 2 or 3 fantasy points is worth something.
Yeah.
Here, these guys are never getting lead laps, or not lead. Well, they're definitely never getting lead laps, but they're not getting fast laps. That's just not how
Difficult to get
Atlanta
fast
works right
laps.
now.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say my favorite play in this range would be Josh Rayum and just hope for carnage. But if there's not a lot of carnage or a lot of single car, or 1 or 2 car incidents, then I think all these guys in this range have really capped upside.
I would say you're probably going to get one of these guys to be borderline optimal, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would not run Daytona style lineups where you're running multiple of these guys. And there's just almost no way, unless there's like a giant wreck, like literally on a restart, which we haven't seen yet in the truck series here. I mean, there's just no, unless that specifically happens, which more than likely they're going to be involved in if it's on the restart. There's not really much of a path to the optimal for these guys. They really seem to be hard limited around like 35 to 40 fantasy points.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you there. As we approach about an hour until lock, I don't know what the weather situation is. If anybody in the chat,
It was supposed to be cooling off. It was really just some morning rain. It canceled the cup qualifying, but it's supposed to be chill for the rest of the day.
if that's the case, we should be in good shape for an on time or slightly delayed start. But let's do a quick Dom station setup here for Atlanta, because I do think it is a little bit different than Daytona. Taco, do you want to walk through your settings here that you would set for a race at Atlanta?
This one's tricky. So I would probably still. I mean, we've seen 3 guys starting top 10 in the optimal. Almost tempted to not run Dominator rules. You could maybe even do like maybe like at least 1, at most 2 of the top like 50, or at most 3. Again, it's tricky. In the truck series, it really is.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know
almost
if
with
you
you.
need to force one of these guys because you're probably just going to get some.
I think what I would aim to do here is I'm probably with you. I wouldn't make a dominator rule here, but I would be aggressive with my exposure maxes to make sure.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not going to get these guys much anyway, but hard cap Garcia at like 5%, hard cap Rhodes at 5%, open up Kyle Busch a little more. That's probably how I would attack it rather than using any specific Dom rules. I don't think there's any stacks you need to do here at all.
No.
I mean, you could do something like only Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse in a lineup, but I don't think you're going to get much Ricky Stenhouse anyway.
Hmm.
That's possible.
Maybe
but
you could concentrate the DOMs like the top like 6, 7, or 8, and then do at most 2, just so you don't get a bunch of the guys starting in the very, very front. But
yeah,
I mean, a lot of the top 6 through 8 are really bad plays anyways. You're just looking at like Kyle Busch, Stenhouse, Majeski.
Yeah, the other way you can do it is if you want to do an at most 1 or 2 rule, you can uncheck Kyle Busch, uncheck Ricky, uncheck Majeski.
Oh, that would be perfect. And then probably do at most 1 if you get rid of those like Yeah, even Geo and
I would take Gio out. I would take
Money
John
Cut.
Hunter
I
out,
think they kind of make the cut.
and then I could do
Yeah, most one.
at most one, and then you're only going to get
And
one of those.
maybe you could even group the guys in the very back and do an at most one because there's almost no scenario. We were looking through some of the optimals. You'd never see multiple of these shitters in the very back. You know, just the very, very back shitters. Like you might get one that sneaks through, but you're not going to have these big wrecks where multiple of them come in. We're not going to see what we would see at like Talladega, where the winning lineup has like 20,000 left on the table. It's just not how this race has been ran. So you would just do it between 0 and 1 of all those guys. Yeah.
We're gonna go to tournament mode as well. We'll use fantasy point.
Probably lower randomization. I think the rest of the season I'm doing Truck Series lower randomization than the Xfinity Series, so like 15% or so. Like nothing too crazy.
And then 1 or 2 uniques, kind of up to you. I usually
if you're doing a metric fuck ton of lineups in 2, but 1 is fine for the most part. Or no, it's if you're doing a metric fuck ton of lineups, you can do 1, but most of the time you could use 2, and it's probably fine.
Yeah, I think you get better distribution if you use 2 uniques. Mm-hmm. So that's about what I would look like. Let that run. Curious to see what that spits out at in terms of
probably a lot of Corey Heim.
Probably a lot of Corey Heim. Yeah, 70% Heim, 61% Haley, a lot of Dye, a lot of Busch as well. I'd probably want to cap a little of that Kyle Busch, like Smith and Eckes and Queen. Yeah, about what we described is what you'll get. But yeah, those are the settings. Both of these, I would be very comfortable Xing those out and doing no special rules either. I think the Dominator will take care of it. You just have to be a little more aggressive with your exposures.
No, I will say if you really, really want to go over on Kyle Busch, it's not like the worst call in the world. I'd say qualifying worked out pretty well for him, even without him starting more towards the rear. It's just he doesn't have much competition up front. So you just want to say fuck it. Kyle Busch leads like a fuckload of this race and like wins. It's not the worst stand you can make.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be the highest owned. I think Heim will be for sure.
Let's flip over to the sports book. Give that a refresh again. Apologies for the decimal odds. I'm not logged in.
I mean, Hocevar second favorite is really telling. So you can see like his upside is clearly there. You can see it, but I mean, it doesn't look anything like the finishes. Like if it was to finish like bot 10 or something, his odds would be about as good as anyone.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Anything jumping off the page here? These actually look pretty right to me. I mean, Stenhouse at plus 1800. Maybe, but again,
who's the cheapest guy, or who's the highest odds guy that could win? Maybe Stuart Friesen.
Yeah, plus 5,000 for Friesen for a guy who's been in position to win this race twice.
Gio,
don't hit that. Gio, I don't. 2,200 is not enough.
I don't think it's the right track for him. I think I like him in the bigger ones, but yeah, that again, the number he's getting really priced up. I mean, close to race time like this, it's going to be juiced.
Yeah, Haley at plus 1,600. That feels about right. I think I'd rather go with Ricky at plus 1,800 there.
Yeah, it doesn't really like Stenhouse as much, even with him qualifying 5th. They have him like outside of the top 10.
Yeah, Friesen would probably be, if I was looking for value, probably be my favorite play. What's he for? I mean, plus 650 for a top 5.
Yeah,
that might be where I go with that. Anyway, we're getting up on lock here. Can I get a win pick? Obviously, I went with, I mentioned earlier, Christian Eckes is my win pick, but obviously
that's a good one. I want to be right, so I'll say Kyle Busch. Nah, it's for cowards.
Didn't you say Carson Hocevar last week? You picked the favorite 2 weeks in a row?
No. Hey, I think last week I ended up picking like the fastest car in like all of them, but I didn't get any winners.
Classic NASCAR.
Yeah. I mean, when Austin Hill wins, I mean, what are you gonna do? For my win pick, man, give me Eckes is such a good pick. I don't want to do the same one as you, and I just don't want to go Kyle Busch here. How about I kind of like Caden Honeycutt.
Interesting.
In the Heim car.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I think he's got a little more upside. Like he hasn't got a top 5 of the super speedway yet, but I think he can do it in this equipment.
Yeah, and his average running position is inside the top 10, and that's in. I would say he got an upgrade in equipment here. So Certainly a good play. I like that play as well. We will be back probably later for the Xfinity series. I do want to get a look at this truck race. Hopefully, we get the truck race before the Xfinity race, weather pending, because I do want to see how the track has changed and how spread out these cars get. So hopefully we'll be in a position to do another Xfinity podcast in between the two races. Until then, you can catch us in the Discord, the DFS Army Discord. If you're not signed up to DFS Army, you can do so now. Head on over to dfsarmy.com/NASCAR. That link is in the description. You get access to all the tools we used here, Domination Station, Research Station, all the cheat sheets we give, driver notes on every single driver for every single race all season. dfsarmy.com/NASCAR. Links in the description. I don't know if that promo code from last week works.
Nope.
It's done. Okay, so I won't even say it.
No more Daytona.
Maybe we'll get another promo code going tomorrow if we can talk geek into it. But join us in the Discord if you can. Until then, we will see you hopefully later today if the rain allows it, but certainly tomorrow around noon to break down the Cup race where Tyler Reddick will start on the pole. Taco, the famous line.
All right. Helmets up, fellas. Let's go make that money. I'll see you later.